Coming up, authorities charge a Clay County landlord with second-degree murder. And cleanup efforts of an Oklahoma body of water. Also, a cyber event has shut down plants across Missouri.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go to Michael Hayslip.
In the Skywatch Weather Center.
In the Skywatch Weather Center.
Thank you. It's been a busy one, that is for sure. As the rain is now upon us, including very heavy rain on the western edge of southeast Kansas, it lets up a little bit as it pushes off to the east, and also on top of that, we've got lightning coming down with it. Now, earlier, this storm did produce some hail throughout portions of central Kansas. It has backed off that, has not presented us with any severe thunderstorm warnings as we currently stand right now. But remember, now that it's underway, and look at this thing, stretches all the way down to southern Texas. That is impressive in scope and nature right there. And to the north, yeah, it's pretty much all the way to the Canadian border. It's that low pressure that was east of the Rockies. So now that we're underway, please know that it is not going to let up for really the next day. We're going to carry this all the way into Thursday afternoon, evening. Still dry and quiet right now in 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. Quiet as far as no rain, but not quiet as far as the wind. We'll get to that in a second. Haven't had a big temperature drop where it is raining. Go to the far west, still 61 in Sedan, 62 in Yates Center. Compare that to 55 in Monette and 58 in Lamar. But it is a breezy outside, and as the front shifts in, it will be about 15 to 20 miles per hour. As we take a look at the national perspective, there's that long line again because there's no longer a ridge of the jet stream. It is now a big trough digging into the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma. And like I said, it's going to rain pretty much all day long as this thing pushes off to the east. And remember, after it stalls out on the east side of the Ozarks right there, that's when it starts to go counterclockwise, come back on us, back feeds itself all the way through Thursday. Temperature is going to be up into, say, low 60s today. Cold rain at that, only 53 on Thursday. Still looking at a great Halloween, though, by the time we get to Sunday. Mostly as sunny skies, mild temperatures for the kiddos.
All right. Pretty decent Halloween. Can't complain about that. Get through today and tomorrow.
It's going to be a wet one, I'm going to tell you that much. We're going to see anywhere 2.5, 3.5 inches.
All right. All right. Thanks, Michael. The Oklahoma Bureau of Investigation is helping in the case of a woman found dead in rural Delaware County. Authorities found the body Monday near East 570 Road in the town of Kansas, Oklahoma. In that same area, they found the car, purse, and other belongings of 82-year-old Ava Moore, who was reported missing from her Springdale, Arkansas home on October 20th. Medical examiner is working on positive identification and trying to determine the manner and cause of death. In addition to the OSBI, law enforcement from Delaware County, Oklahoma, and Springdale, Arkansas are working on the case. Clay County, Missouri prosecutors say a 44-year-old Kansas City landlord is charged with second-degree murder after a tenant was stabbed to death. Authorities say the stabbing was over an argument about heating at the house. Monday, prosecutors charged Gordon McBeth in the death of Daryl Gilland. Officers responding to a call Friday to a home in northern Kansas City found a bystander pointing a gun at McBeth. A probable cause statement says witnesses told officers McBeth stabbed Gilland. Authorities say Gilland had been stabbed more than 30 times. Gilland's girlfriend told investigators the couple had been working with McBeth on a problem with their heating when he came to the home and attacked Gilland. The lead agency hosted a conference yesterday to discuss cleanup efforts at Tar Creek in Ottawa County, Oklahoma. Tar Creek was declared a Superfund site by the EPA in 1983 because of contamination from lead and zinc mining near the creek. At yesterday's conference, the agency said every time that area floods, it recontaminates sites that have already been cleaned. GRDA proposed raising the water level of Grand River, but lead agency officials say that would make things worse at the Tar Creek site. The conference will continue today and Thursday. A local manufacturer falls victim to what they are calling a cyber event. According to a representative from Schreiber Foods, the company had a cyber event which impacted their plants and distribution centers in southwest Missouri and beyond. The event prompted a shutdown that began Friday night. The company, which employs more than 1,700 people in Carthage, Monette, and Mount Vernon, Missouri, say they immediately mobilized a specialized response team that worked to resolve the matter. Since the incident, Communications Director Andrew Tobish says they've made good progress in resolving the issue. And Schreiber's plants and distribution centers started bringing the plants back up late last night and early today. According to the Identity Theft Resource Center, through September 30th of this year, the number of data breaches is up 17% compared to 2020. So far this year, there's been approximately 1,300 data breaches compared to 1,100 for the entire year of 2020. The victims of cyber attacks included the city of Joplin earlier this year. According to a report from IBM, the average cost of a breach is more than $4 million for a company. We asked a local IT security provider what businesses can do to protect themselves from these breaches.
Some of the best things is to really get phenomenal backups. And by that I mean we want to have what we call an air gap between where your data and where the backups are actually stored. Good protection, employee education is substantial. Just to make sure that employees are not clicking on things that are inappropriate. Good password management is absolutely key.
Those same reports say more than 281 million people have been impacted by those breaches. Matazetti says identity or fraud protection is just as important for consumers as it is for companies. Missouri this year is celebrating 200 years of statehood, so the State Historical Society of Missouri commissioned a special quilt to be made to celebrate. And that quilt is being moved throughout the state and yesterday made its way to Joplin City Hall. The bicentennial quilt is sectioned into blocks, one for each county in Missouri and the city of St. Louis.
We've had tremendous response from people. I feel like it's something that really pulls emotion out of folks because each block tells a story in the quilt and it gets people talking about like, well, I may have learned something new about my own county or the county next to me.
The quilt will be on display for the public on the first floor of Joplin City Hall today and Thursday. You can also view specific county blocks on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. It's 5:07.
Rain beginning to pick up as it moves east through that Chanute Independence line. Heavier there right in the central portion of where we see the line of storms. Also, too, some limited lightning to go along with that. Temperatures holding steady right now in the low 60s, kind of going to be there all day long. Remember, as this moves to the east, it's going to last not only all through today, but into Thursday as well.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Galena Bulldogs have won 7 straight games and now get ready to kick off their postseason. Plus, students at USC continue to protest as more allegations of sexual assault emerge against Greek culture. And according to a new study, looking at someone while listening to them makes you a better listener. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
This week is the start of postseason for high school football in Southeast Kansas. Galena Bulldogs kick off the 3A bracket at home on Friday, up against the Burlington Wildcats. Galena, no doubt one of the hottest teams in our area. Winners of 7 straight games. That includes a 37-16 win over Baxter Springs back last week. That clinched the district title. Bulldogs hope that momentum that they've built over the last 2 months helps carry them to a state championship come November.
It would mean a lot to me, just being a senior, going far, possibly winning the whole thing. That would be a lot.
Anytime you can play football into November, it's a great thing. We talk about that always with our kids, that's what we strive for, and hopefully we can get after it and play this week and move on. But we're playing against a good team, so we'll see what happens.
The Riverton volleyball team is headed to the state tournament in Hutch this weekend. Last week, Rams earned their 2nd straight sub-state title, claiming their spot in the state bracket. Riverton, the 4 seed, headed into state, a 38-3 overall record. First pool play game going to be Friday morning against Smoky Valley. Young team here, but a lot of them got to play in the state tournament last year, and that's experience that will be valuable when they head to Hutch this weekend.
I had a lot of young kids on my roster last year and again this year, and so just having the kind of that pressure situation and knowing it was it's the big dance and There's a lot of attention put on that, and going and facing some teams that we don't normally get to see in the regular season, but we hear about them all the time, and we want to be in that conversation.
We're all like sisters. We know each other pretty well. We've grown up together our whole lives, and we get to stay together next year too because we don't have any seniors.
Finally, a historic announcement from KCNWSL as the team is moving forward with a stadium project at the Kansas City waterfront. $70 million project. It will be the first stadium built specifically for a National Women's Soccer League team. Financed entirely by the club's owners, which includes Patrick Mahomes' wife, Brittany Matthews. They're expected to break ground on the new stadium next fall. Still to come on the KOM Morning News, gas prices and frustration with the fuel protests in Ecuador. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOM Morning News returns. Just about 5:17 on what's going to be a rainy Wednesday and a rainy Thursday as well here as we get ready to close out October. Even if you're living in the central and eastern portion, you don't have the rain as of yet. Don't go anywhere without the umbrella, because now that this thing's on us, it is going to be here to stay. You see the heavy rain along with fair share of lightning working its way through our western counties of southeast Kansas. Gets a little bit lighter when it all starts, but everything is going to move from west to east, and eventually we're all going to end up with a taste of rain somehow, some way. We do have a flood watch for the Little Osage River by Horton. And then as far as the storm earlier, these are wind advisories. They actually don't affect any of our counties, but actually have reports of hail that this thing dropped earlier, late last night, earlier this morning. Spawned several severe thunderstorm warnings. We have not had any for our areas as it moved in, but it is going to be blustery and windy, and that rain is going to be, it's going to be cold as well, because while our temperatures haven't dropped too much and still quiet over 7th and Rangeline where it sits at 59 degrees, we are going to see a little bit of a drop here. 63 in Chanute, 62 in Independence, our next spots that will get the heavier rain. So it's even warmer out there than it is through portions of southwest Missouri, where we've got 58s in Lamar, Carthage, and in Cassville. Miami sitting at a very comfortable 65 degrees. Heavy cloud cover just about everywhere you go. And I tell you what, it is impressive as far as the geographic coverage of this rain. Stretches all the way from South Texas just about to the Canadian border. We did have the ridge of the jet stream. That's when you get the upside down U. When you get the actual U, that's a big trough right there. And as it digs down, grabs that Gulf moisture, shoots it straight up in a line, and progresses right across the 4 states for today into tomorrow. As far as additional watches and warnings, really we're just going to focus mainly on us. A little bit of a mess down in Texas. They're going to get some heavier rain than what we will even receive. Highs today just going to stabilize. Temperatures really not going to be a factor, other than going to be chilly with that rain rolling through. And then overnight, the rain persisting, as does the wind, because what happens is the storm system actually just stalls out when it gets to the east of us. And so instead of progressing toward the Mississippi, she decides to turn back over on herself. That lasts all the way into Thursday evening. And then finally, by the time it kind of spins out, loses its energy, and we're into Friday morning, we do begin to clear from pretty much west to east. 7-day forecast shows you that still Halloween's looking pretty good. We get through this one, and we'll be talking about temperatures that'll be there in the 60s on Saturday and Sunday. Time now to turn our attention to the KOM News Now Facebook page and our Something to Talk About this morning. New reports of drugging and rapes at the University of Southern California fraternity house has enraged students. Many are calling for the school to get rid of the entire Greek system. Others, though, say that's going too far.
Protests continued on USC's Fraternity Row Monday as more allegations have emerged of sexual assaults at multiple houses, stunning but not surprising some students.
Just because of the culture we live in and the lack of accountability, and then just how DPS responded with giving tips on how not to be raped when they should have been telling rapists not to rape women.
Over the weekend, DPS, the Campus Department of Public Safety, confirmed they've contacted LAPD about a number of new claims of sexual assaults and drugging at USC fraternities. These new allegations echoing 7 reports made last week involving the Sigma Nu House. Since then, the university has paused all social activities at fraternities, but some in this crowd say it should be permanent.
this isn't new, this isn't extraordinary, this has been happening and it's going to continue to happen until we abolish Greek life.
Monday, the editorial board of the university newspaper agreed, calling for the school to abolish the Interfraternity Council, writing in part, Sigma Nu is only one part of an entire institution that perpetuates sexual violence. To prevent such horrific instances in the future, the university must move to dismantle the entire IFC system that upholds this misogynistic framework. But others say abolishing frats will just transfer the problem. Monday, protesters engaged with members of this fraternity in what they called productive conversation about how together they can change a culture.
Getting rid of the frats isn't going to solve everything because people who sexually assault will still keep doing it. They'll just find different places to do it.
Our question for you this morning: do schools do enough to protect students from sexual assault? You can connect to us via the KOAM News Now Facebook page or go directly to the poll, koamnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with Health Watch next.
Eliminate. Topping Health Watch this morning, why looking at someone while they're speaking makes us better listeners, and how many of your favorite fast foods contain potentially harmful chemicals. Naomi Ruckham has today's top health story.
Chicken nuggets, burritos, and cheeseburgers from your favorite fast food joint may contain chemicals linked to serious health problems. Researchers at the George Washington University sampled 64 fast food items from several restaurants. More than 80% included phthalates, which are used to make plastics soft and are known to disrupt the endocrine system. Chicken burritos and cheeseburgers had the highest levels of chemicals, while cheese pizzas had the lowest. New research shows COVID-19 vaccines are safe for people with a history of severe allergic reactions. The study included more than 50,000 employees in the Mass General Brigham healthcare system. The survey showed that while those with a history of severe allergic reactions reported more allergic symptoms after the vaccine, more than 97% were still able to get both doses. And looking at people while they are talking makes it much easier for us to digest what they are saying. A study published in the Journal of the Acoustical Society of America found that seeing a person's face significantly improves how well we understand them, especially in noisy places where other people are talking. Researchers also found that people were less engaged when another voice tried to distract them. Those are some of the day's top health stories. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
All right, that's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Rainy and windy with lightning as well. As it moves from west to east, everybody's going to end up with rain because this is going to last all the way into Thursday. No storm reports as of yet. We do have a flood watch in effect for the Little Osage River. In Vernon County, Missouri, 7-day forecast. That rain's going to be cold when it rolls in as well. Finally letting up by the time we get to Friday. And, hey, kids are going to be just fine. Sunday shaping up to be delightful.
Coming up, authorities charge a Clay County landlord with second-degree murder. And cleanup efforts of an Oklahoma body of water. Also a cyber event that shut down plants across Missouri.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, let's go to Michael Hayslip. He's been watching the storms moving through.
Rain's upon us, and even where it's not raining, it is windy. Here's what we've got working in from the west. You can tell the lightning strikes that we've picked up in the last 15 minutes alone. Heavy rain in the middle of that band. Gets to start off as light when it rolls through, but then it's just going to increase in intensity when it shows up in your neck of the woods. And even though it's not raining in Vernon County, Missouri, in anticipation of it, I already have a flood watch in effect for the Little Osage River, an idea of how much rain we're going to pick up, not only for today, but all the way through tomorrow as well. Double-digit winds, no wind advisory, that stays out to the west of us, but at the same point in time, we'll have gusts of 30 miles an hour as the rain rolls through. 59 degrees is where we stand in Joplin. Temperatures really not going to budge all morning, all afternoon long. That is kind of where we're just going to hang out at for the most part. Let's talk about how much rain we can absorb here, because once you leave today, you're going to be pining for sunshine at some point in time, and it's really not going to arrive until Friday. There it is, spinning throughout Thursday morning as well, all the way through Thursday afternoon and the evening hours. And so what we're talking about as far as accumulation amounts, 3.5. Look at that band out there in southeast Kansas where they're going to get the hardest rain. They're already getting it. That's anywhere from 3 to 4 inches of rain. By the time we get to the weekend, we'll be thanking our lucky stars that Saturday and Sunday will bring us sunshine, temperatures in the 60s, and no worries about getting out and trick-or-treating with the kids.
All right. We'll make it past this and have a great Halloween.
This is going to be a lot of rain.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Michael. The Oklahoma Bureau of Investigation is helping in the case of a woman found dead in rural Delaware County. Authorities found the body Monday near East 570 Road in the town of Kansas, Oklahoma. In that same area, they found the car, purse, and other belongings of 82-year-old Ava Moore, who was reported missing from her Springdale, Arkansas home on October 20th. Medical examiner is working on a positive identification and trying to determine the manner and cause of death. In addition to the OSBI, law officers from Delaware County, Oklahoma and Springdale, Arkansas are working on the case. Clay County, Missouri prosecutors say a 44-year-old Kansas City landlord is charged with second-degree murder after a tenant was stabbed to death. Authorities say the stabbing was over an argument about heating at the house. Monday, prosecutors charged Gordon McBeth in the death of Daryl Gilland. Officers responding to a call Friday to a home in northern Kansas City found a bystander pointing a gun at McBeth. Probable cause statement says witnesses told officers McBeth stabbed Gilland, and authorities say Gilland had been stabbed more than 30 times. Gilland's girlfriend told investigators the couple had been working with McBeth on a problem with their heating when he came to the home and attacked Gilland. The lead agency hosted a conference yesterday to discuss cleanup efforts at Tart Creek in Ottawa County, Oklahoma. Tart Creek was declared a Superfund site by the EPA in 1983 because of contamination from lead and zinc mining near the creek. At yesterday's conference, the agency said every time that area floods, it recontaminates sites that have already been cleaned. The GRDA proposed raising the water level of Grand River, but lead agency officials say that would make things worse at Tart Creek site. The conference will continue today and Thursday. A local manufacturer falls victim to what they're calling a cyber event. According to a representative from Schreiber Foods, the company had a cyber event which impacted their plants and distribution centers in southwest Missouri and beyond. The event prompted a shutdown that began Friday night. The company, which employs more than 1,700 people in Carthage, Monette, and Mount Vernon, Missouri, say they immediately mobilized a specialized response team that worked to resolve the matter. Since the incident, Communications Director Andrew Tobish says they've made good progress in resolving the issue. Schreiber's plants and distribution centers started bringing the plants back up late Monday night and early Tuesday morning. An Alabama man has finally finished his mission to travel across the U.S. on a bicycle to help those facing depression and suicidal thoughts. Back in 2019, Daniel Hurd made his way through southwest Missouri. We talked to him about his journey. After leaving our area, Daniel got into an accident that left him hospitalized for a while and ultimately delayed his trip. Yesterday, we talked with him again about getting back on his bike to finish his mission.
I think I was just getting too comfortable in what was uncomfortable for most people, picking up and changing where you're going every day. And a lot of that for this journey I had to have that happen to me to kind of realize that this isn't what I'm supposed to do the rest of my life.
To see the previous story we did with Dan, you can go to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Glad to see he's doing better. According to the Identity Theft Resource Center, through September 30th of this year, the number of data breaches is up 17%. That's compared to 2020. KOAM's Chris Warner spoke with a local cybersecurity expert about what businesses should do to protect their systems.
1,291. That's the number of data breaches so far in 2021. That's compared to 1,108 in 2020, according to the Identity Theft Resource Center.
That actually, to me, is surprisingly low. We actually were expecting, seem to be tracking a little bit higher than what I expected. We saw kind of a dip in 2020 because of COVID. The bad guys were also taking some time off because of COVID. So it seemed like this year they're kind of back with a vengeance.
According to a report from IBM, the average cost of a data breach for a company was $4.24 million, the highest in the last 17 years the report has been put together. Those are costs that could be avoided.
Some of the best things is to really get phenomenal backups. And by that I mean we want to have what we call an air gap between where your data and where the backups are actually stored. Good protection, employee education is substantial, just to make sure that employees are not clicking on things that are inappropriate. Good password management is absolutely key.
As for the number of people impacted by these breaches, that number is at 281 million so far this year. So we asked John what you can do to protect yourself in case a place you do business with is hit with a cyber attack.
You're limited at what you can do. So, maybe some identity protection would be important. So if you get breached, reach out to the company that had the breach and see if they can provide you some free identity protection or fraud protection on your behalf.
In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
We've got links to the reports mentioned in this story on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, students in a Virginia high school walk out in support of their fellow students. Plus, China imposes lockdowns due to another spike in COVID-19. We'll have the latest there. But first, it's 5:37.
Now that the rain has started, it is not going to go anywhere. We're going to have it all through today and into tomorrow as well. If we take a look at the Skywatch storm tracker, you will notice that it's a heavy band right located in the central portion of it. So it starts off as light rain when it comes your way, but know that the heavy stuff will eventually be on you as it progresses from west to east. We do not have any severe thunderstorm watches or warnings, so we do find ourselves lucky as far as that goes. Lightning beginning to increase, especially along the Kansas-Oklahoma state line, and on top of that, it is quite windy out as well. Now, put this into motion and give you an idea of why it lasts so long, because it doesn't make it all the way out to the east. It stalls out, and then it just backfills itself, counterclockwise motion all the way through Thursday. Looking at 2.5 to 3.5 inches of rain. Wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple pockets of 4 inches of rain. Be back with World Watch next.
Topping World Watch, a day of protest in Ecuador. Social, indigenous, student and worker organizations protest against the economic policies of President Guillermo Lasso. The main complaint is the increase in gas prices. According to the authorities, at least 37 people have been arrested for trying to block the roads. People are lining up for coronavirus testing in China due to new outbreaks. More than 100 cases have been reported in 11 provinces since October 17th, mostly in northern China. China is reimposing lockdowns for hundreds of thousands of people, and Beijing canceled next Sunday's marathon. Angry and defiant protesters filled the streets of Sudan, denouncing the military takeover even as troops push forward with a new wave of arrests. Key opposition leaders and the brother of the foreign minister were detained on Tuesday. Military personnel escorted Sudan's prime minister and his wife back to their home after the couple were detained on Monday. It's still not clear if they're able to move about freely as there continue to be more questions than answers. Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro is one step closer to facing criminal charges for his failed pandemic response after lawmakers approved the findings of a Senate investigation. More than 600,000 Brazilians have died from COVID-19, the world's second highest death toll.
A Brazilian Senate committee has voted to recommend President Jair Bolsonaro be charged with 9 crimes, including crimes against humanity, alleging it was his reckless mismanagement of the COVID-19 crisis that led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Brazilians. The report was produced after 6 months of inquiry that included testimonies and allegations of corruption. The final document also accuses the president of misusing public funds, charlatanism, and provoking an epidemic resulting in death. More than 600,000 people have died of COVID-19 in Brazil, the second highest death toll in the world. Now, after the report was made public last week, Bolsonaro said he wasn't guilty of any crimes and told a crowd of supporters that he did the right thing from the first moment. Before approving the final report, the Senate committee made some changes to the document, increasing the number of people accused to 78, and that includes some governors and mayors and 3 of Bolsonaro's sons. The committee also added a recommendation for Bolsonaro to be banned from social media for spreading misinformation about COVID-19. The committee approved the report by 7-4 votes. Now, it's not clear, however, that the recommendation will actually lead to any criminal charges. The Senate Commission will now send the document to the Attorney General, who's considered an ally of Bolsonaro. Nonetheless, the inquiry has taken a toll on Bolsonaro. Live television coverage of the proceedings was watched closely by Brazilians, and the investigation contributed to a sharp drop in his approval rating, making his bid for re-election next year look increasingly difficult.
That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page on our morning Insta poll, students continue to protest on the University of Southern California's Fraternity Row after more allegations of sexual assault have occurred. The school has since suspended all fraternity activities, but some are saying that's not enough and the entire Greek life culture should be shut down permanently. Our question for you this morning on the poll: do schools do enough to protect students from sexual assault? 70% of you right now say no, they do not do enough. Of course, you can always connect each and every morning either via our Facebook page, KOAM News Now, or go directly to the poll, koamnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. According to the Identity Theft Resource Center, through September 30th of this year, the number of data breaches is up 17% compared to 2020. So far this year, there's been approximately 1,300 data breaches compared to 1,100 for the entire year of 2020. The victims of cyber attacks included the city of Joplin earlier this year. According to a report from IBM, the average cost of a breach is more than $4 million for a company. With Halloween just a few days away, haunted houses are popping up all over the 4 states, but we also have what some say are real haunted houses locally. The Paranormal Science Lab works with local historic buildings to educate the community on their history through paranormal events. The group says they regularly investigate these spaces by studying their past as well as using technology to investigate strange occurrences. Missouri this year is celebrating 200 years of statehood, so the State Historical Society of Missouri commissioned a special quilt to be made to celebrate. That quilt is being moved throughout the state, and yesterday it made its way to Joplin City Hall. The bicentennial quilt is sectioned into blocks, one for each county in Missouri and the city of St. Louis. An Alabama man has finally finished his mission to travel across the U.S. on a bicycle to help those facing depression and suicidal thoughts. Back in 2019, Daniel Hurd made his way through southwest Missouri. We talked with him about his journey then. But after leaving our area, Daniel got into an accident that left him hospitalized for a while and delayed his trip. Yesterday, we talked with him again about getting back on his bike to finish his mission, which he did. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Now that the rain has started, it's going to be a while before it's done. Moved in from the west, we see it just about the heavy rain making the Independence Chanute line right now. And we've also got a fair share of lightning increasing in this particular line, and also too this right here in Montgomery and Wilson County. That has really picked up here in probably the last 10 to 15 minutes alone. Even if you're sitting in the central eastern portion of the 4 states, take your umbrella with you because this is not going to subside till we get to Thursday night. That's right, it's a long time coming. And to give you an idea, just in anticipation of it, it's not even raining in Vernon County, Missouri right now, but there's a flood watch for the Little Osage River that lasts all the way into Sunday, because 2.5 to 3.5 inches is not out of the realm of possibility by the time we get to the weekend. On top of the rain, it is also very, very windy outside. Double digits just about everywhere. We'll have gusts coming out of the south-southeast at 30 miles per hour. 7th and range line has remained on the dry side so far. Overcast skies, 59 degrees, there's your wind. And as far as what we're looking at temperatures, even in Independence and Neodesha, use Chanute as well, have managed to maintain low 60s. We haven't really seen much of a drop as the rain rolled through, and still warmer out here to the west where it is raining compared to the mid to high 50s that we have in southwest Missouri. And Miami still holding steady at 65 degrees along with Welch. Reset our radar here and give you an idea of how extensive it is, stretching from Texas almost all the way to the Canadian border. Yesterday, we had the upside down U, brought us nice temperatures. It was absolutely perfect. Now, once you get the U shape, that indicates the trough. This thing digs down to the south, grabs that Gulf moisture, throws it up all the way through the 4 states. When we talk about the severe thunderstorm risk map, even with those 30-mile-an-hour gusts, we're going to be able to avoid any 50 to 60-mile-per-hour winds. All the severe thunderstorm warnings and watches that they had late last night into early this morning stayed throughout central Kansas. We haven't had any pop up in our neck of the woods, and then the strongest storms are going to come out of Texas and roll through the Gulf Coast. As far as what we're looking at, we did our watches and warnings. High winds if you got to go out to the west, by the way. They could get anywhere from 50 to 60 miles per hour if you got to head toward Wichita. Our weather trend, temperature-wise, really not a whole lot of movement. We're going to be very, very stagnant. Eventually, we'll begin to drop down tonight, and Thursday will be a little bit cooler. But really, it's the amount of rain that we're going to pick up, because instead of it just moving out to the east and wanting to clear off, stalls when it gets to the Ozarks here, then begins the counterclockwise movement. That lasts all the way into Thursday morning, and still not done as it just keeps on throwing rain, this time from north to south all the way through Thursday night. Our first clearing will begin out to the west. We'll still have heavy cloud cover and scattered rain into Friday morning until we push out and cool down to end the work week. As far as the rain tracker goes, that's going to be your 2.5 to 4 inches that we're talking about in those pockets of red, and easily 2.5 to 3.5 for just about everybody. Even when you see this blue right here, I think it's going to be closer to 2 inches than it is 1.5. Then as we head toward the weekend, we'll have a nice little rebound. We'll not only have a chance to dry out, but get sunshine on both Saturday and Sunday. Sunday looking good for the kids, so no worries about Halloween. Maybe it's good we just get rid of all this rain activity here in the middle of the work week, and that way we don't have to worry about them when they're out and about, or you don't have to worry about trying to stay dry if you're out and about with them on Halloween Sunday. We'll be back with more KOM Morning News right after this.
Families in a school district near Washington are outraged over the superintendent's handling of sexual assault on campus. A juvenile court judge has ruled a boy forcibly sodomized a girl in a Loudoun County, Virginia school bathroom in May. He was arrested for the crime in July and then allowed to attend a different school in the same district. A few months later, at that second school, another girl accused him of abduction of sexual battery. Matthew Torres reports about what prompted students to walk out in protest on Tuesday.
Sky 9 flying above several schools in Loudoun County, where in all white, dozens of students staged a walkout for 10 minutes demanding safety in schools.
I'm happy to see the kids take a stand.
Loudoun County parent Scott Mineo supporting their stands, but wished it was longer.
I don't think 10 minutes is long enough. I think they should take the whole day.
Despite student involvement, a Loudoun County Public Schools spokesperson says it was parents who generated the protest. For weeks, parents have been pushing for Superintendent Scott Ziegler to resign over how 2 sexual assault cases involving the same teenage boy were handled.
Who knew? And who knew it when? And why didn't they tell us?
In this email on May 28th, Ziegler knew and informed the school board about allegations a girl was sexually assaulted in a bathroom at Stonebridge High School, but gave no specifics since it was under investigation. But when asked if he knew of any assaults in school bathrooms during a meeting in June, Ziegler said no. Last week, he clarified his answer, saying he misinterpreted the question, thinking it was in reference to transgender kids.
I regret that my comments were misleading, and I apologize for the distress that error caused families.
The teen suspect, who on Monday, a juvenile court judge ruled committed the sexual assault, was transferred to a different high school. But this month, the same juvenile is now facing new charges, accused of sexually assaulting another girl.
Hopefully there's a rainbow with a pot of gold at the end of it soon, because there's too much going on for there not to be.
The school district says it could not release information about the first crime because that would have identified the victim. It says it followed proper reporting procedures. Google Trends released this year's top Halloween costume searches on Google in the United States. And what was the most popular costume on the 2021 Fright Gist list? Well, it's a very traditional, a witch. All right, I wouldn't have guessed that. The list includes hundreds of costumes. Some of them include Cruella de Vil at number 5, Squid Game at 23, and Baby Yoda at 82. Aww. Well, if you like to debate which Halloween candy is the best, this interactive map might help you make your case. It shows the most popular holiday treat in every state. CandyStore.com says it used 14 years worth of data to put together the map. For many states, some kind of chocolate Halloween candy is the top pick. Montana is notable because the winner there is bubble gum. I'm always going to go with Reese's peanut butter cups. For sure. We'll be right back. Coming up, authorities charge a Clay County landlord with second-degree murder. In cleanup efforts of an Oklahoma body of water, also a cyber event shuts down plants across Missouri.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning. Welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Buck. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Heavy rain and lightning are upon us as it rolls in throughout southeast Kansas. Those are the lightning strikes of the last 15 minutes. That heavy rain, band of rain making its way from Coffeyville, Independence, Fredonia, Yates Center line from south to north. So up next will be Chanute, and then we'll roll the old Erie, Parsons, Oswego line. Everybody's going to end up with rain by the time it's all said and done, and good indicator is the fact that it has not rained in Vernon County, yet there is a flood watch for the Little Osage River all the way into Sunday. Wind gusts of 30 miles per hour is what we can expect on our Wednesday as the rains roll through. 60 degrees in Joplin, where it's still dry for the time being, and temperatures, well, they're really just not going to go anywhere. We've seen Pittsburgh and Neosho now bump up to 60. Miami's held steady at 65, but even out to the west, where we talk about Neodesha and Independence, it's still sitting at 62 and 61. Now, that being said, temperatures are going to drop here this evening, and the rain's going to stick around. So what that's going to do, that means that it's going to be that cold rain that will come down on us. As it moves to the east, it stalls out before it gets out of our way, and then instead of rolling west to east, it rolls north to south, right back down on us. So we'll be talking about 2.5 to 3.5 inches of rain with a cool Thursday and Friday. Saturday and Sunday, after we get done with this middle of the week, shaping up to be great. No worries on Halloween. Mostly sunny during the morning and afternoon, high around 64, and a good looking night for the kiddos to go trick-or-treating.
Looking forward to Sunday for sure. Make it through this first part of the week.
Yeah, like I said, we'll bookend our rain around Halloween.
There you go. All right, thanks, Michael. The Oklahoma Bureau of Investigation is helping in the case of a woman found dead in rural Delaware County. Authorities found the body Monday near East 570 Road in the town of Kansas, Oklahoma. In that same area, they found the car, purse, and other belongings of 82-year-old Ava Moore, who was reported missing from her Springdale, Arkansas home on October 20th. Medical examiner is working on a positive identification and trying to determine the manner and cause of death. In addition to the OSBI, law officers from Delaware County, Oklahoma, and Springdale, Arkansas are working on the case. Clay County, Missouri prosecutors say a 44-year-old Kansas City landlord is charged with second-degree murder. That's after a tenant was stabbed to death. Authorities say the stabbing was over an argument about heating at the house. On Monday, prosecutors charged Gordon Macbeth in the death of Daryl Gilland. Officers responded to a call on Friday to a home in northern Kansas City. Found a bystander pointing a gun at Macbeth. Probable cause statement says witnesses told officers Macbeth stabbed Gilland. Authorities say Gilland had been stabbed more than 30 times. Gilland's girlfriend told investigators the couple had been working with Macbeth on a problem with their heating when he came to the home and attacked Gilland. The lead agency hosted a conference yesterday to discuss cleanup efforts at Tar Creek in Ottawa County, Oklahoma. Tar Creek was declared a Superfund site by the EPA in 1983 because of contamination from lead and zinc mining near the creek. At yesterday's conference, the agency said every time that area floods, it recontaminates sites that have already been cleaned. The GRDA proposed raising the water level of Grand River, but lead agency officials say that would make things worse at the Tar Creek site. The Conference will continue today and Thursday. A local manufacturer falls victim to what they're calling a cyber event. According to a representative from Schreiber Foods, the company had a cyber event which impacted their plants and distribution centers in Southwest Missouri and beyond. The event prompted a shutdown that began Friday night. The company, which employs more than 1,700 people in Carthage, Monette, and Mount Vernon, Missouri, says they immediately immobilized a specialized response team that worked to resolve the matter. And since the incident, Communications Director Andrew Tobish says they've made good progress in resolving the issue. Schreiber's plants and distribution centers started bringing the plants back up late Monday night and early on Tuesday. Missouri this year is celebrating 200 years of statehood, so the State Historical Society of Missouri commissioned a special quilt to be made to celebrate. The quilt is being moved throughout the state and yesterday made its way to Joplin City Hall. Bicentennial quilt is sectioned into blocks, one for each county in Missouri and the city of St. Louis.
From people. I feel like it's something that really pulls emotion out of folks because each block tells a story in the quilt and it gets people talking about like, well, I may have learned something new about my own county or the county next to me.
Quilt will be on display for the public on the first floor of Joplin City Hall today and Thursday. You can also view specific county blocks on our website, koamnewsnow.com. With Halloween just a few days away, haunted houses are popping up all over the 4 states. But we also have what some say are real haunted houses locally. Paranormal Science Lab works with local historic buildings to educate the community on their history through paranormal events. The group says they regularly investigate these spaces by studying their past as well as using technology to investigate strange occurrences.
I interview them, go on site, and often just to observe and gather information. When we actually get to the point of investigating, we try to rely on equipment as far as documenting what's going on.
Paranormal group uses special camera and audio equipment to look for answers to the supposedly ghostly events they investigate. And tonight at 9, we'll get a tour from them of the George Ball House. Oh, I'm told this was done last night. Later in the show on Fox 14, we're going to get a tour of the George Ball House in Webb City, which is said to be haunted.
I watched after the World Series game.
6:07.
There we go from the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Heavy lightning and rain going to make its way from west to east. Flooding is going to be a concern, especially flash flooding, because the rain is not going to stop until we get to Thursday night. That's right, we're going to roll about 48 hours worth of rain is somewhere in the 4 states, and cooler temperatures to end the work week before we get back into the 60s for Saturday and Sunday.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, technology and innovation come together for Joplin businesses in our feature interview. Plus, the FDA recommends emergency authorization of COVID-19 vaccination for young children. And in Atlanta Braves' stolen base in the playoffs leads to free Taco Bell tacos. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Visit your local.
In Consumer Watch this morning, a change in cruise regulations. Beginning in January, cruises will no longer have to follow CDC rules tied to the pandemic. Government agency says the rules will become recommendations at the start of 2022. Cruises has been under a no sail order until late last year when it was replaced with a conditional order. Those conditions meant ships could set sail only if 95% of passengers were vaccinated. Stocks close higher on Tuesday. More companies get ready to release their quarterly earnings report. A new test for side impacts could improve small SUVs. And you can thank Atlanta for the free taco. Here's a look at some of the day's top consumer stories.
Stocks closed higher on Tuesday. The Dow notched a new record high after adding 15 points. The Nasdaq was up 9 and the S&P 500 gained 8, also closing at a new high. A strong earnings season continues to roll on. Microsoft and Google parent company Alphabet both beat revenue expectations. Today, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and Boeing are among the latest group reporting their quarterly results. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety has a new test for side crashes, and many small SUVs did not fare well with it. Only 1 out of 20 models earned the top rating of good, the Mazda CX-5. The IIHS says side crashes account for nearly a quarter of passenger vehicle occupant deaths. They hope the new test encourages car companies to improve safety measures. And you can thank the Atlanta Braves for a free taco. For the 10th year in a row, Taco Bell is giving away a free taco because there was a stolen base in the World Series. Ozzie Albies stole second in the first inning of Game 1 between the Braves and the Houston Astros. Fans can get their free taco on November 4th.
Thank you, Braves. Well, what can Brown do for you? UPS says profits rose to nearly $2.9 billion in its third quarter, and revenue topped $23 billion. That was better than expected. UPS continues to reap the rewards of massive demand for online shopping. Independent bookstores all over the world have been fighting to stay afloat against e-retailers like Amazon. In France, lawmakers have tried for years to give them a leg up by introducing minimum book prices and prohibiting free shipping. And now new legislation is going even further, setting a minimum cost for shipping books so brick and mortar stores can keep competing. Amazon lobbied against the legislation, saying low delivery charges enabled equal access to books no matter where a customer lives. That's it for Consumer Watch. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. You know, during the pandemic, and we certainly haven't come off of it yet, a lot of people were thinking about, well, what do I want to do with my life? Do I want to stay in the job that I'm in? I have this idea. Maybe I've thought about turning it into something that I can do for the rest of my life. And I'm going to steal a line from the person who's about to join us now. Doug Hunt, Director of Entrepreneurship, and there he is, at the Joplin Innovation Technology Summit that's coming up. And before we get into that, Doug, you just told me a great line. And first of all, thank you for joining us this early in the morning.
Happy to be here.
But you just told me a great line. An entrepreneur is somebody who jumps off a cliff and figures out how to make a parachute on the way down, because it's scary. It's scary. It's like, number one, there's failure. Number two, there's the economy. What is your role when it comes into ushering people through this process fall into play now that people are like, what do I want to do with my life?
Heavy question, and thank you for asking that. It's something that I'm very passionate about because I've been there, done that. Being in this position at the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce and helping shepherd these new businesses past that fear so that they can build confidence and go on to grow and hire people, that's something I take a lot of pride in. And we should be supporting our small businesses and startups.
So let's talk about the Innovation and Technology Summit, because this is the inaugural one. This is the first time you've put it on. Before we get to the details of it, is there any correlation that you decided to do that this year coming off the pandemic and the fact that people were like, I can totally kind of relook my life and my outlook?
Excellent question. Yes and yes. First part of that is we are in a transition period post-pandemic, and the other thing is that cybersecurity is becoming something that's very serious, and so that's why this inaugural Joplin Regional Innovation and Technology Summit has 4 tracks that address entrepreneurship, e-commerce, and of course cybersecurity protection.
So once I come to the summit, what are some of the particulars that I can benefit from? Who am I going to be able to talk to? What am I going to take away? And how is it going to make me successful in the long run?
Excellent question. We'll touch on all of those. And primarily in cybersecurity on the 2 tracks, we've got, for example, one presenter is a former CIA operative that operated as a spy in the cybersecurity space. And so in cybersecurity, you've got external hacks, and then you have team members that can inadvertently do things, and that's typically the gateway where somebody can get in. And you know, the ransoms that are being paid out right now just so people can access their data is just shocking. E-commerce, our entire area is about 150 stores beneath where the national average is. So there's a lot of retail shops that are in Southwest Missouri that need to relook at e-commerce because it can really grow their revenue. And then of course, entrepreneurship. There are a lot of people out there that are too scared to take that step, and they need to be aware of what's available to them now that wasn't available to them as little as 10 years ago. So
I greatly appreciate you bringing up those aspects of it, because as much as Doug and I started off talking about entrepreneurship, because that's Doug's title. He's the director of entrepreneurship. There are so many things that can be gleaned from the Innovation and Technology Summit for existing business owners, no matter if you have 5 employees or if you have 500 employees. Doug, do I need to register? How do I get hooked up through the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce for the summit?
Absolutely. We have an Eventbrite page, so go to eventbrite.com, and there you can key in Joplin Regional Innovation and Technology Summit. And typically after you type in Joplin and get to regional, the page will pop up. You'll see it, and on that page, you'll see the same logo that's behind me here on camera, and you can purchase your tickets there. And the other thing is the itinerary, the program, some of the speaker bios is on that page as well.
And we're going to put that up on the KOMNewsNow.com website as well. Make it easy to connect to. Doug Hunt, Director of Entrepreneurship. And once again, Eventbrite, and we'll have that on the KOMNewsNow.com page for everybody to register. We'll be back with more KOM Morning News right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, children as young as 5 are one step closer to being eligible for a COVID-19 vaccine. An FDA panel scrutinized Pfizer's data on their pediatric vaccine and recommended it receive an emergency authorization. CBS's Laura Podesta explains.
17 voted yes, and we had 1 abstain.
An FDA advisory panel has given the first recommendation for Pfizer's smaller dose COVID-19 vaccine for children 5 to 11 years old.
At one point we thought if we vaccinated enough people that the virus would go away. It's not going away, and I think we're going to have to find a way to live with it. And I think the vaccines kind of give us a way to do that.
A CDC panel will weigh in next week, and it's possible shots could be going into young arms just a few days after that.
We don't want children to be dying of COVID, even if it is far fewer children than adults, and we don't want them in the ICU.
The group of experts determined that the benefits outweigh the risks, which include myocarditis. 0 cases of the rare heart condition were found in the study. More than 6 million American children have contracted COVID. Still, parents are split on whether their kids should get the shots.
I think it's a good idea because everybody can be safe.
I think that they're just too small, and this is something that's just too new.
Some on the panel did express concern about new vaccine mandates.
I'm just worried that if we say yes, that the states are going to mandate administration of this vaccine to children in order to go to school.
Roughly 28 million children will be eligible if Pfizer's pediatric vaccine receives emergency authorization. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
The vaccine for children 5 to 11 would be a 2-dose regimen like it is for adults, but the dosage given would be just a third of the standard amount. Pfizer's study indicated the vaccine is 91% effective in preventing symptomatic COVID in children. Vaping marijuana has drastically increased in popularity among teens. A new study published in JAMA Pediatrics says the number of school-aged youths vaping marijuana doubled between 2013 and 2020. Older teens seem to be most likely to vape pot. 1 in 3 high school seniors reported doing it, which was the highest number in the group. A trend worrying experts is teens say they prefer vaping cannabis extract over dried marijuana. That extract contains much more THC than marijuana plants, leading to more intense highs. The plants themselves also have higher concentrations of the chemical that produces the high. Some strains nowadays can have up to 15% THC. In the 1990s, pot was typically about 4% THC. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Heavy rain beginning to make its way through the Chanute, Fredonia, Independence areas. Up next will be the old Parsons Oswego line up to the north. There's no relief up there as well, and it will continue to spread down to the south. If we take a look at our lightning strikes, there's a very recent one, but take it back another 15 minutes. It's that fine line from north to south where we see the heaviest amount of lightning to go with the heaviest amount of rain. Even if you're central or eastern part and it's not into your neck of the woods yet, don't go anywhere without an umbrella because we're a long way from being over, about 48 hours as a matter of fact. Now earlier this thing was capable of dropping some hail, which it did, but that stopped by the time it was done in central Kansas. One thing that is not going to stop is not only the rain, but also the strong winds will gust around 30 miles per hour. Future Track shows you why we're going to get 2.5 to 3.5 inches of rain as it continues to roll over on itself all the way into Thursday night. Cooler temperatures for Thursday and Friday dipping down into the 50s. Sets us up for a nice Halloween weekend back in the 60s.
Coming up, authorities charge a Clay County landlord with second-degree murder. And cleanup efforts of an Oklahoma body of water. Also, a cyber event shuts down plants across Missouri.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a minute, but first let's go to Michael Haislip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Not only going to be a rain-soaked Wednesday, but rain-soaked Thursday as well. We've got the heavy rain coming down throughout southeast Kansas. Combine that with the lightning that is also throwing down. Everything is progressing from the west off to the east, and once it gets started, it is not going to stop until Thursday night. If you are in an area where it's not yet raining, please know you are not going to be able to get away from it. We're all going to have rain by the time it's over, an indicator of that being a flood watch already in effect for the Little Osage River. That's in Vernon County, Missouri. The gauge near Horton, and look at that expiration time. It lasts all the way until Sunday night. Also, it is windy outside. We're going to gust up to 30 miles per hour. And that also puts a little chill in the air. Current conditions over 7th and Rangeline and Joplin have stayed dry so far, since it's 60 degrees with overcast skies. 63 in Chanute and 61 in Independence, so it shows you that when it does start raining, really doesn't drop the temperatures that much. 58 in Lamar and Carthage and Nevada. We've also seen a little drop there in northeast Oklahoma. Welch still sits at 65, but Miami and Grove now down to 63. Weather trend for today, temperatures just really aren't going to move. They're going to stay static. And you know what else is going to stay static? The rain, because it stalls out, and instead of keeping on to the east, decides it's going to throw down counterclockwise on us, and on Thursday, come at us from north to south. And that's why by the time it's said and done, we're going to see that red category begin to build, especially in southeast Kansas, an indicator of 3.5 to 4 inches of rain. 7-day forecast, cooler temperatures on Thursday and Friday. Friday it finally stops, and then we can get back into the mid-60s for Saturday and Sunday. So Halloween weekend looking good.
Yeah, a little break for the weekend. We like that.
We're going to want it after 48 hours of rain.
For sure. All right, thanks, Michael. The Oklahoma Bureau of Investigation is helping in the case of a woman found dead in rural Delaware County. Authorities found the body Monday near East 570 Road in the town of Kansas, Oklahoma. In that same area, they found the car, purse, and other belongings of 82-year-old Ava Moore, who was reported missing from her Springdale, Arkansas home on October 20th. Medical examiner is working on a positive identification and is trying to determine the manner and cause of death. In addition to the OSBI, law officers from Delaware County, Oklahoma, and Springdale, Arkansas are working on the case. Clay County, Missouri prosecutors say a 44-year-old Kansas City landlord is charged with second-degree murder after a tenant was stabbed to death. Authorities say the stabbing was over an argument about heating at the house. On Monday, prosecutors charged Gordon McBeth in the death of Daryl Gilland. Officers responding to a call Friday to a home in northern Kansas City found a bystander pointing a gun at McBeth. Probable cause statement says witnesses told officers McBeth stabbed Gilland. Authorities say Gilland had been stabbed more than 30 times. Gilland's girlfriend told investigators the couple had been working with McBeth on a problem with their heating when he came to the home and attacked Gilland. The lead agency hosted a conference yesterday to discuss cleanup efforts at Tar Creek in Ottawa County, Oklahoma. Tar Creek was declared a Superfund site by the EPA in 1983 because of contamination from lead and zinc mining near the creek. At yesterday's conference, the agency said every time that area floods, it recontaminates sites that have already been cleaned. GRDA proposed raising the water level of Grand River. The lead agency officials say that would make things even worse at the Tar Creek site. The conference will continue both today and Thursday. A local manufacturer falls victim to what they're calling a cyber event. According to a representative from Schreiber Foods, the company had a cyber event which impacted their plants and distribution centers in Southwest Missouri and beyond. The event prompted a shutdown that began Friday night. The company, which employs more than 1,700 people in Carthage, Monette, and Mount Vernon, Missouri, says they immediately mobilized a specialized response team that worked to resolve the matter. And since the incident, Communications Director Andrew Tobish says they've made good progress in resolving the issue. Schreiber's plants and distribution centers started bringing the plants back up late Monday night and early Tuesday morning. Haunted houses are popular this time of year, but some are open year-round, with plenty here in the 4 states. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky took a tour of the George Ball House in Webb City, spoke with a paranormal researcher about the house's history, as well as how they study what they say is ghostly activity.
Heard the sound of something and looked over and watched the doorknob turn, open the door, and no one's upstairs.
Incidents like that aren't unusual for Lisa Martin, a paranormal investigator here in the 4 states.
Everyone that's involved tend to be history buffs, and history and interest in the paranormal often go hand in hand. We combine that interest to help support local sites.
Sites like the George Ball House in Webb City.
It was built by George Ball and his wife Martha in 1900. It would have been Mr. and Mrs. Ball and several of their children.
But this family housed here in Webb City suffered many tragedies,
including a son that was murdered that was never solved, a couple of other deaths in the family that were untimely.
Upon exploring the house, we encountered some pretty strange incidents.
I think this was open when I shut that door.
Like an upstairs door that seemed to have opened on its own.
We keep it shut. There's no reason to. In fact, there's not a doorknob.
Or a faint voice we heard behind us just before turning on the camera.
Isn't it?
Did you hear something, or was that me?
I thought I heard like almost a low whisper.
The Paranormal Science Lab team uses a mixture of their history knowledge as well as technology to research paranormal incidents within the 4 states.
When we conduct electronic voice phenomena sessions, we will ask questions out loud, and just to see if it triggers anything, if there's a reply either audibly or on a recorder later.
While we can't say for sure what we encountered during our visit, it definitely seemed out of the ordinary. In Webb City, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Pretty cool house. Anyone interested in any upcoming ghost tours can go to their website or Facebook, and we'll have that up, and in addition to information for other haunted houses in the area. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News.
Today, millions in the Northeast will continue to feel the effects of the season's first nor'easter. I'm Laura Podesta with details on the forecast and the damage already done.
Plus, are schools doing enough to keep their students safe from sexual assault? We let you weigh in, but first, it's 6:37.
Thunderstorm is going to last the duration of Wednesday all the way into Thursday. A current look at the Skywatch storm tracker where we see the line of lightning. It'll be light rain when it gets to your area, if it hasn't gotten there yet, but then it really begins to pick up. This is going to be one of those where it's going to rain for next 2 days. It's something else. As far as what we're looking at for watches and warnings, just one in effect for the Little Osage River in Vernon County, Missouri. It's also windy outside. We're going to have some gusts of 30 miles per hour. And even with temperatures in the high 50s, low 60s, the wind does make it a tad bit cool. And that's going to be some cold rain rolling in. So here's a look at the rain tracker as it just begins to pile up even by the time we get into Thursday evening. And Future Track shows us how the problem is, instead of it just moving to the east, and it's going to put the brakes on there tonight and spin back over on us counterclockwise. Probably be done late Thursday night, early Friday morning. It looks like about as soon as we're going to be able to quit. Temperatures dropping down to the 50s for Thursday and Friday. Setting up for a nice weekend. We're going to want some sunshine. Not only for Halloween, just a chance to dry out is what we'll be looking for. Be back with Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, much of the Northeast will continue to feel the effects of the season's first nor'easter, still winding its way through New England. Many areas hit yesterday by rain, and flooding will today experience high winds, likely bringing with them power outages. Laura Podesta has more on the forecast and the damage.
Flooding Tuesday closed roadways in New York, and high winds toppled trees, like this one, onto Martin Quinn's car.
I'm here standing with you, and that's really all that matters. Look at those winds that are blowing out there.
Now millions of people from New Jersey to Maine are bracing for day 2 of weather-related problems.
And given these winds, no one should be surprised if they lose power.
Utilities in New England are also warning residents they could lose their lights as the storm works its way through today.
Right now, we're dealing with internal crews as well as contract crews that we work with regularly, who are on standby and ready to respond immediately if an outage happens. We also do have the ability to call in crews from as far away as Canada.
This storm had already cut a path of destruction through the Midwest over the weekend, with tornadoes decimating several towns in Illinois and Missouri.
The roofs and walls are down, and I mean, yeah, it's just a total massive destruction.
Also this week on the West Coast, a powerful storm dumped record-breaking rain, triggering mudslides and major flooding in California after 13 inches fell in some areas. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
That weather system from the west storm hit the plains and is winding through the south, bringing with it the potential for damaging winds, hail, and tornadoes. That weather is moving from Louisiana and Alabama through to Georgia, Florida, and the Carolinas by tomorrow. It's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOM News Now Facebook page and our morning Instapoll, students continue to protest on the University of Southern California's Fraternity Row after allegations of sexual assault emerged. Protests and allegations echo 7 reports made just the week before. School has since suspended all fraternity activities, but some are saying that's not enough and the entire Greek life culture should be shut down permanently. Our question for you, do schools do enough to protect students from sexual assault? Right now, 82% of you say no, not enough is being done to protect our students. You can make your voice heard either by connecting to us via our Facebook page or go directly to the poll, koamnewsnow.com/vote. Be back and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries next.
We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Captain Terry England from Pittsburgh, Kansas. Captain England served the 484th in Uzbekistan and in Kuwait. To Captain Terry England, we thank you, our 4-state hero.
Begins with Wade Geffert. Now get this, he is going out trick-or-treating as one Doug Hetty. He's got the 7-day forecast already up. Wade is in Humboldt. Now Wade, I want you to remind everybody that they need their umbrellas today. You are now in charge of Humboldt weather. Don't worry, we don't need to clear that past Doug. I've got like pseudo authority to do that. And I'll run it past him later. Happy birthday, my man.
Looking good there, looking good. We've got Jalea Burnett turning 5 years old this year. What a cutie there. Happy birthday, Jalea. Hope you have a great one.
Harrison Dunn, evidently we ran here. I don't remember the picture we did, but there's Harrison celebrating number 7. Is that? That's pretty cool jersey there. I was looking at the patch on it. Anyway, Harrison, I want you, we'll celebrate your birthday all week long, my man. He's turning 7.
All right, sorry we mispronounced your name. We got it right, Harrison. Mackenzie Michelini turning 8 years old this year. Happy birthday to Mackenzie in Pittsburgh.
Morgan Stauffer, she is 12, and for everybody who's in the 6th grade in Carl Junction, practice your social distancing, but make sure you wish Morgan a very happy birthday.
All right, happy birthday, Morgan. And happy birthday, Presley Warford. Presley, what a fun picture there. Celebrating in Arma, Kansas. She is 12 years old.
At Anderson Middle School, that's where you can find the birthday boy by the name of Zane McGuffey. I should call him a young man because he is now a teenager. Zane loves to play percussion in the Anderson Middle School band right there. Happy birthday, my man.
All right, and Trent Johnson turning 25 years old this year. Happy birthday to Trent up in Fort Scott.
Run out to Jasper. Dale Earl celebrating his 71st birthday. Very happy birthday to you, Mr. Earl.
All right, Pat Olson celebrating birthday number 86 this year in Erie, Kansas. Birthday wishes coming from your husband, Ron. Happy birthday, Pat.
Ron and Deborah Trim are celebrating their 14th anniversary. Congratulations to Ron and Deborah. Perhaps a trip to Big Ed's in store as they celebrate in Thayer.
All right, and in Pickaway, Kansas, celebrating 50 years of wedded bliss, we've got Dwayne and Flo Reno. Congratulations to the Renos in Pickaway.
One more to pass along, and that would be Dennis Eckhart. Dennis, a happy birthday to you. We'll give you your screen to yourself, my man, as he celebrates in Carl Junction. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all. That's where you can turn them into. Birthdays at KOAMTV.com. You can also go to our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
All right, you can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Just go to KOAMNewsNow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
It's underway. The thunderstorms are here, and they are here to stay until tomorrow night. This is going to take a while. Give you an idea of the lightning. It has subsided just a little bit, so that's a good sign. But now we're seeing the eastward push just about making its way through Parsons. You got Oswego right there. So Crawford, Labette, Bourbon County, you will be next. It stretches all the way up north as well. A little slow moving down to the south for Washington and Newada County. I haven't seen a whole lot of rain. But for those of you in Ottawa County right now, starting to see it just creep over the state line right there. And even if you're in the central eastern portion of the 4 states, we're all going to get rain by the time it's said and done. Flood watch for the Little Osage River in Vernon County, lasting all the way until Sunday. Winds have been strong all morning long. We're gusting up to 30 miles per hour. So far staying dry over 7th and Rangeline and sitting at 60 degrees. We're not going to see really much movement in our temperatures whatsoever. Even the portions where it is raining have stayed in the low 60s. We started out here with mid 50s in southwest Missouri and running anywhere from about 59 to 63 for the central portion of the 4 states, and of course overcast skies for really until probably Friday. We're not going to see sunshine anytime soon. This is a system that lasts all the way from Texas up to the Canadian border. Yesterday we had the upside down U. That was the ridge. That was the nice October temperatures. Now we got the trough, which is the correctly shaped U. And what this does is push off to the east. But it's not going to be one of those where it takes this band and removes it to the east of the Mississippi. It's going to stall out just to the east of us and then reverse course and fall back down on us. That's why we're going to get, number one, a whole lot of rain, but number two, why it's going to last so long. Severe thunderstorm risk map, we have not had any storm reports, really the most serious weather we're going to see down on the Gulf Coast. Earlier this morning into late last night, this thing we have, it did throw down some hail, but it kind of gave that up in central Kansas. And speaking of central Kansas, they have wind advisory. Their winds could be anywhere from 50 to 60 miles per hour. So all of a sudden our wind gusts of 30 do not seem too bad. Afternoon planner with rain, nighttime planner, rain, future track, rain. Here's where it stalls out on us tonight, and then instead of pushing west to east, drops down counterclockwise motion, goes north to south, and We're talking about, look at this little section right here, that line, where they've already had heavy rain this morning. We're going to go 3.5 to 4 inches in that. Pretty much everybody looking at 2.5 to 3 inches. Finally on Friday, we'll get a break. It's going to be cool though. And then Saturday and Sunday, see, the kids don't have to worry about it for Halloween. We'll get it out of the way for the next 2 days, and that way they can enjoy their Halloween. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. According to the Identity Theft Resource Center, through September 30th of this year, the number of data breaches is up 17% compared to 2020. So far this year, there's been approximately 1,300 data breaches compared to 1,100 for the entire year of 2020. The victims of cyber attacks included the city of Joplin earlier this year. According to a report from IBM, the average cost of a breach is more than $4 million for a company. With Halloween just a few days away, haunted houses are popping up all over the 4 states, but we also have what some say are real haunted houses locally. Paranormal Science Lab works with local historic buildings to educate the community on their history through paranormal events. The group says they regularly investigate these spaces by studying their past, as well as using technology to investigate strange occurrences. Missouri this year is celebrating 200 years of statehood, so the State Historical Society of Missouri commissioned a special quilt to be made to celebrate. That quilt is being moved throughout the state and yesterday made its way to Joplin City Hall. The bicentennial quilt is sectioned into blocks, one for each county in Missouri and the city of St. Louis. An Alabama man has finally finished his mission to travel across the U.S. on a bicycle to help those facing depression and suicidal thoughts. Back in 2019, Daniel Hurd made his way through Southwest Missouri. We talked to him about his journey. After leaving our area, Daniel got into an accident that left him hospitalized for a while and delayed his trip. Yesterday, we talked with him again about getting back on his bike to finish his mission, which he did. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And when you do head out the door, make sure you got the umbrella, because we are not going to give up on this anytime soon. The rain already working its way through southeast Kansas. Latest development, there we go. Got a pop-up one in Ottawa County, right headed toward Fairland. And like I said, nobody's going to be able to escape the rain that's going to last for a couple days here. There we are this afternoon. And then we begin to churn over through Thursday morning, back at it all the way into Thursday night, finally beginning to clear off from west to east Friday morning. Speaking of Thursday and Friday, much cooler temps, 53 and 57. Nice looking weekend though. We'll be back up into the mid 60s with sunshine on Saturday and Sunday.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making sweet potato cakes.
Morning news continues on KOAM, CBS Morning News. That's coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, it's time to get spooky with ghost hunting.
And we've got a Mario game going on the market. Bust out your wallet if you're interested in it. $80,000. $80,000. All right, stick with us over on Fox 14, and we'll continue to update the Skywatch Storm Tracker and our Wednesday elongated thunderstorm activity. Wraps it up for this edition of the KOAM Morning News. Do me a favor, be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.
Your chance to